Alright, good afternoon everybody. It's your boy Akeem. Welcome to today's vlog. We are on week 8 of the 2015 fantasy football season. Now from here on out, I'm actually going to give you just one blog per week. I've actually been trying to do Thursday night football matchup blog and then the remaining games for each week. But I decided to do it all in 1 week, and I'm going to talk about all the key players that you should start and bench for this week. Starting for Thursday night matchup, tonight's matchup between New England hosting Miami. Now Miami quarterback Ryan Tannehill had a great game last week against the Houston Texans, calculating a lot of points in fantasy play. Now he's going to be playing against a tougher New England defense, but I think he should be worth a good start this week. I think he can get you between 20 and 23 points this week against the New England defense because of quarterback Tom Brady. This New England offense definitely can put up some points, and Ryan Tannehill and company for the Dolphins have to do a good job passing the football just to keep up for New England. I think you should go right ahead and start Ryan Tannehill for fantasy play. Next up, Lamar Miller of the Miami Dolphins. He had a big game as well against the Houston Texans. I don't think he's going to have a good game this week against that New England defense and the run defense. They've been doing a pretty good job against the run, but despite the fact that Lamar Miller is a good running back to catch the football out of the backfield, I think he's going to be stopped this week. If you're looking for between 10 and 15 points, go right ahead and start Lamar Miller, but if you're looking for bigger points, bench him this week. I think he's going to have a little bit of a tough game in fantasy play against the New England Patriots. Actually, I take that back. I don't really see him getting between 10 and 15 points. I think at best 12 points, between 8 and 12 points against New England defense. My mistake on that one. Now, headed over for New England, a must start is Tom Brady. He's been doing a great job. 16 touchdown passes to just 1 interception thus far this season. He is having an MVP type season. Go right ahead and start Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. Now, there's a little bit of concern at running back with Dion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount is a decent running back, and it's pretty hard to determine who would have the better game. Now, because Dion Lewis is a better catcher out of the backfield between him and LeGarrette Blount, it looks like you should start Dion Lewis, but you're going with the risk in this one because LeGarrette Blount is, it looks like he's the better running back between the two. So it's a little bit of a coin toss. I think this week you should go right ahead and bench both these two players and watch and see what happens for tonight to help determine what goes on later on in the season. Next game, Detroit is going to be playing at Kansas City. Jeremy Maclin should be out in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. This is going to be a tough concern for Alex Smith. I think he's going to have a struggle this week without Jeremy Maclin. Now, there is a couple concerns about running back Charcandrick West for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is the new starting running back to replace Jamal Charles. Actually beat out Niles Davis. I think you should go right ahead and start him this week. You know, some people think you should bench him. I think he's one player who can be worth the risk. It's either a boom or bust this week for West. I think he can have a boom this week against that Detroit defense because he's going to have to carry more of the workload and try to take more pressure off of Alex Smith. He's going to have a good game. I see him getting between 12 and 17 points this week against that Detroit defense. Next up, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Go right ahead and start Julio Jones as well as Devontae Freeman. But there is a couple of questions for Matt Ryan. Throughout for the past couple of seasons, he's actually been starting the season off great. But then as the season progressed, his fantasy points is not really up to par. Now, last week against the Washington Redskins, that Tampa Bay defense gave up a lot of points to Kirk Cousins. And Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. And Matt Ryan has the home field advantage, being that the game is going to be played at Atlanta. Go right ahead and start Matt Ryan. If he busts this week, major concern for him starting for the remainder of the season. Next up, San Francisco is going to be playing at St. Louis. Ram running back Todd Gurley has been playing explosive with 3 consecutive 100-yard matches. I think he's going to be due for another great game against that San Francisco 49er defense. Now for San Francisco, don't start Colin Kaepernick nor Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is averaging 4 yards per carry, and he is the lead back returning this week against the Rams. But that Rams defense has been doing a good job against the run. I think that Hyde's going to have a bad game. I think you should bench him this week, but start Todd Gurley at running back for the St. Louis Rams. Next up, Cincinnati is going to be playing at Pitt. Now, Pitt has a little bit questions, concerns at quarterback, and hopefully Ben Roethlisberger can come back. But if he does not, start Cincinnati's defense. I think they're going to focus more on stopping Le'Veon Bell and putting pressure on the quarterback and trying to get the passing attack together. Now, Antonio Brown looks like he's up to par and getting more receptions. He's actually still in the top 10 and yards in receiving this this season, I think you should go right ahead and start Antonio Brown, and you must start Le'Veon Bell. But for the Cincinnati defense, a little bit question marks here. I think you should go right ahead and start them. I think they could get you at least 10 points in fantasy play, in which they already start off the game with 10 points, according to many leagues. Next up, the Jets is going to be playing at Oakland. Now, Oakland quarterback Derek Carr had a great game last week against that San Diego defense at San Diego. But they're playing against a tougher Jets defense, in my opinion. I think that you should not start Derek Carr, but you'll go right ahead and start Amari Cooper. I see him getting at least 15 points in fantasy play, because they're going to have to focus more on throwing as opposed to running. So running back Latavius Murray, he did have a decent game last week against the Chargers. I don't see that happening this week against the Jets. So they're going to depend on passing the football for the Raiders. Go right ahead and start Amari Cooper. For the Jets, Chris Ivory, I think he's gonna have a good game. He's gonna bounce back from his little bit. He had a little bit of a down performance last week against the New England Patriots, but he still posted up 12 points, I believe, in fantasy play, which is not bad against that New England defense. I think he's gonna have a good game this week against the Oakland Raiders. Next up, the Tennessee Titans gonna be playing at Houston. Brian Hoyer is named the starting quarterback for this team. Ryan Mallett is no longer with the team. They actually cut him from the team and released him. So Brian Hoyer is going to be starting that quarterback. Now, they're going to be playing against Tennessee's defense. I think that Brian Hoyer can be a sleeper this week at the starting quarterback position. Now, for Arian Foster, he's out for the remainder of the year with the torn Achilles. So Alfred Blue's going to be starting at running back. I think you should bench him this week to see how he performs. If you're looking for like a really risk with this one, go right ahead and start Alfred Blue, but I think you should bench him this week. See how he performs and then try to make judgments later on in the season based on this performance. This is more of a sit and watch for Alfred Blue. And next up, the Seattle Seahawks is going to be playing at Dallas. Dallas's offensive players, don't play him. Even Dez Bryant, in my opinion, Dez Bryant is coming back from a foot injury, which is a good boost for the offense. But at quarterback Matt Castle, I think he's going to get mauled in this one against that Seattle defense. I don't you should think you should start anybody on Dallas's offense because they're struggling at quarterback. Now for Seattle, on the other hand, go right ahead and start Marshawn Lynch as well as Jimmy Graham on the offensive side. Russell Wilson is a player that you could possibly start, but I think you should bench this week due to the lack of like key big name players at the receiver positions other than Jimmy Graham. He still needs a top-notch receiver to step it up to throw to, and that is a major concern. I don't think you should start Russell Wilson this week, but go right ahead and start Marshawn Lynch and Jimmy Graham. Next up, Green Bay is going to be playing at Denver for the Sunday night matchup. This is going to be a great game. Quarterback Peyton Manning has not been playing well this season. He did have a couple of good games earlier in the first couple of weeks, but then been struggling at quarterback. You're starting to see Father Time is starting to kick in for him. He's not really doing too well. I don't think he's going to do well at home against a decent Green Bay defense. Now for Aaron Rodgers, go right ahead and start Aaron Rodgers. The running back position between Eddie Lacy and James Starks, whoever is starting, start them this week. Even though they're playing against a tough Denver defense, I think they're going to get you at least 10 points. Whoever is starting, remember, whoever's starting at running back between Eddie Lacy and James Starks, I think they could have a good game. Whoever's starting, so pay attention to that. I think it's going to be James Starks. I think he can get you at least 10 to 15 points this week against that tough Denver defense. Yes, that's my sleeper of the week, whoever is the running back for the Green Bay Packers. Now for the wide receivers in other hands like James Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, if you have them on your team, go right ahead and start them. I think it's going to be a high-flying passing game. It's going to be a close game defensively, even though I believe that Denver has a tougher defense. I think that Aaron Rodgers has definitely been showing that he's probably the best quarterback that defense for Denver is going to have to face this season. Lastly, the Monday Night Football matchup between Indianapolis at Carolina. Go right ahead and start Andrew Luck. He had a little bit of a scare last week for the first half of the game, but then he actually bounced back. I think he had 3 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions to end the game with over 300 yards passing. I think he's definitely going to bounce back. He played against the New Orleans Saints last week. I think he's going to have a decent game this week against that Carolina defense. Now for Cam Newton, I'm a little bit scared in this one. I think you should bench Cam Newton. He only had 18 points according to FanDuel. I think he had like 15 points overall according to ESPN at the quarterback quarterback position. It's a little bit shaky, but he's going to have to start do a better job throwing the football or depend more on running the football. And we have been seeing him trying to focus on throwing the football. I don't think you should start Cam Newton this week, even though the game is at home. Now, for the running backs, Jonathan Stewart, go right ahead and start Jonathan Stewart. He's definitely been doing a great job running the football, and we all saw what happened last week against the New Orleans Saints, and Mark Ingram ran all over the Colts. I think that Jonathan Stewart could be a great pickup for running back this week. Now, for Frank Gore, Father Time has not really kicked in with him. He is still a strong running back, and I think he could give the defense for Carolina run for their money due to his hard running as well as his experience at running back. Go right ahead and start Frank Gore. Now, for wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton and possibly Dante Moncrief, go right ahead and start T.Y. Hilton. Moncrief could be a sleeper this week. I think you should bench him this week possibly, and honestly, but I think you should go right ahead and start T.Y. Hilton. Now, for the receivers for Carolina, the only player that you should definitely start is Greg Olsen, the tight end. Now, the next time to catch you guys will be next Thursday, in which I will give you a preview of Week 9 of this season. Thank you for watching this vlog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.